Hey guys, this is the cast twist, and it's not just named this because both pieces are twisted together, but it's named this because every single move you make has a twist of its own. Let me show you. Alright, so before we get started, let's just note that there is a TW on the silver piece, and that's going to be the piece that stays exactly where it is the entire time, and the gold piece is going to be the one that we move. So let's start with moving the gold piece out and to the right. Now we'll notice that there's a gap, and each one of these movements from the gold piece around the silver piece is going to be tracked with where the gap is going as well, just to make it a little easier, because there's usually multiple moves that each move can do. So initially, we're going to move that gold piece over that silver piece a little bit, and then we're going to bring that gap up. Next thing is we're going to move that gap to the middle as we rotate that gold piece around the silver piece, and the gap is going to go back up. At this point, we move the gold piece on the silver piece a little bit, just enough so that we can get that gap to the outside. And we can't quite take it apart yet, so let's keep on making these moves until we can get it into a better position. The next thing to do is we're going to rotate this gold piece clockwise for 2 full revolutions, and as we do so, I'm going to track that gap just so you know how to make the piece move as you're doing it. So initially, we're going to move this gold piece around the silver piece in a clockwise motion, and that gap is going to stay on the outside, and then we're going to keep going, and the gap is going to move to the bottom. Keep going, and the gap is to the outside, and again, and the gap is to the bottom. So we do one more full revolution here. This time the gap is on the bottom, on the top position there. We rotate once more, and the gap is on the inside. We go again, and the gap is on the bottom. Then we keep going, and the gap is on the inside. So just when you think that you can actually pull it out, you realize that you can't. A couple of puzzles, like Hanayama puzzles, use this move, and what we have to do is actually slide it over so it's all the way in the other position. At this point, it's pretty straightforward what we have to do. We have to move the gold piece over 90 degrees, and then we actually want to rotate this gap so that it's on the bottom as we spin it back, just like so. Then if you see these TW letters, we want to rotate this gold piece over those letters, and then we're going to put it back in this position with the gap in a different position. So let's rotate it down with trying to kind of like pushing the gap, I guess, to the inside of the center, and then once it's over those letters, we want to rotate it back while kind of pushing that gap up, but you got to be kind of loose about it, because if you're too tight, it'll get stuck up and it won't work out for you. Now the gap is in the up position. There's only one move left to do, and that's move the gap to the middle as we rotate upwards, or pardon me, keep the gap at the top as we rotate to the left counterclockwise, and then move counterclockwise once more, and that's when the switch happens where the gap is on the inside. And then we pull it apart, and that's how you disassemble the cast twist. In order to reassemble this one, just note that we're going to keep the letters, the TW letters here at the bottom left, and the gold one can only go on in one way, so that should be a little simpler. So put the gold piece on, and we're going to rotate it clockwise 2 times, and the gap is on the top. The next thing to do is to move this gold piece with the gap going downwards all the way over those letters, the TW letters. And then what we're going to do is keep rotating it all the way until it's back in its position. And the gap is now at the bottom. Now what we want to bring it up by 90 degrees, and we want that gap to stay on the outside, because what we're going to do is actually just put this guy and slide it back through, just like that. So now once we're back through, the other time to disassemble it, we had to go clockwise 2 revolutions. So here, it would make sense to go counterclockwise by 2 revolutions. So as we do this, I'm just going to track where the gap is. So we'd go 90 degrees down, and the gap is at the bottom. And we're going to go 90 degrees more, and the gap is on the inside. And we're going to keep going 90 degrees, the gap is on the bottom, and gap is on the bottom for the next one. And then the gap is on the outside. The next one, gap is on the bottom. The one where it's on the top is the gap on the outside. And then the final one is the gap on the outside. So now the next move is to move this gold piece up, and then we want to wedge it so the gap is on the top, and then put it back in. Just like that. And then we bring it all the way over. Now here, the gap can move to the top. So what we wanted to actually do is move it so the gap is in the middle, I guess, or in the center of the silver piece. Keep going, keep going. And at this point, what we want to do is move the gold piece to the top, but we want to bring the gap to the outside. And then it's pretty straightforward. The only thing left to do is to push them together. And that's how you reassemble the cast twist. Thanks for watching. See ya.